So I did auto show for 3 years. As a part of that, I met my mentor. I stopped talking about product a long time ago, and I started talking about people. Interpersonal skills, leadership, mainly the lack of great leadership, and why people matter more than any process or any product. There's a lot of leaders in older generations now that are from the world of sports or the military. The great thing about values and the great thing about a core belief is that your employees know how to act when you're not around. Fatality has taught me that being altruistic, being kind is its own reward. Like the stuff that I do for participants, multiple stories came up from Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine and all these different things, and it showed that Gen Z is the hardest working generation. I think a lot of people in business think that the most important thing is how much you know about the product. EQ, IQ, emotional quotient, intellectual quotient. I always look at them as both necessary, but one is in massively short supply.
There's one thing that all champions have in common. They get shit done. So welcome to the Get Shit Done experience. All right. We are back at it. You are in studio with us. This is the Get Shit Done experience. I'm your host, John Morris, and this is also called the GSDX Podcast. You can find us at www.gsdxpodcast.com, and wherever you are consuming this amazing content, we appreciate you very much, and thank you. And don't forget to rate, follow, subscribe, and do all those little things. It's very helpful, and I'm a very helpful person, and I appreciate that you are as well. So, without further ado, we've got a story today of an amazing gentleman. His name is Mr. Frank Ziede. Hello, Frank. Say hello.
Man. I appreciate the compliment. It's great to see you. Great to be here.
We are very excited. He brought toys, so he brought me a beautiful Hot Wheel. Check this thing out. We got a Hot Wheel. It's a BMW. And by the way, I am a BMW driver.
That was not planned.
So that really worked out. This one's a lot cooler than the one that I have, but mine is a white one.
It's fantastic.
So you got to dig that. So thank you very much for that. We met through LinkedIn. This is the power of social media. And this is why we love it so much, because we get a chance to meet very interesting people that are doing very interesting things. And Frank, we want to get started with kind of understanding here. As I said, like you woke up one morning, you were a child, and you went into the kitchen and you said, Mom, I think I want to be a corporate facilitator and author. Is that pretty accurate as to how you got your start?
That's 100%. Word for word. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
No, first of all, it's great to be here. I'm a big fan, and
thank you.
I love some of your guests too. Like Dale Dupree is on my get to know list.
Well, you got to come back next week. He'll be here.
Great. Put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
But I watched what you've done, and I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to talk to your audience and talk to LinkedIn and anybody else that's out there. But my name is Frank. My last name is Ziede. If it seems hard to pronounce, just think of the baked pasta, Big Ziede. You can call me Big Ziede if you like.
We love both Ziedes. We love Big Ziede and Frank Ziede.
There you go. And I'm originally from Arizona. I spent about 8 years in Southern California. That's where I became a diehard Laker fan. If you don't like the Lakers, you just don't like winners. And it's like the Yankee effect.
Man, he comes in here, he's just throwing it down.
That's right. And I now live in Illinois because I met my amazing, changed my life, miracle savior bride, whose name is Elise, like a new lease on life.
Hello, Elise.
So we dated long distance for about a year, and I was like, I'm coming to you. And it changed my entire life, my entire journey. But I start when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. I'm a movie junkie. I grew up on movies, and I had big dreams and hopes and wants, and I went to performing arts high school, so I was an actor, and I did a ton of plays and
this is cool
musicals.
You saw the one with Greg Cox, right? We had Greg Cox on. He was a theater. Oh, so he was on like 2 episodes ago.
Okay.
And, this big burly guy, he's in business management consulting, heck of a guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what was your major? And he's like, oh, theater.
There you go.
I'm like, so you were doing Shakespeare? He's like, yeah, absolutely. I was a theater major for about a week and a half, and then I'm like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. But yeah, so you were up on stage doing the thing, doing the do. There's always savings, but it's about way more than savings alone. Total Technology Solutions Group redefines managed print services. Excellence is the minimum standard. TTSG is a true managed print service provider, deeply understanding your technology and business goals. Your business is unique. Our solutions are tailored to your current and future business goals. Our customer-first approach empowers and delights. TTSG can ensure your technology environment will scale as your business does. So as you navigate business and constant change, partner with TTSG for premium advisement and seamless implementation of your technology goals. We set the bar high. Your people deserve it. Peace of mind. Powerful innovation. TTSG.com.
It was a little bit longer than 2 weeks, but I left and I moved to LA and I auditioned for and got into the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, which is where Robert Redford went and Danny DeVito and Paul Rudd. And I did 2 years there. As a part of that, I was trying to get my SAG card and people said, if you have other skills? Well, I used to be a hip hop dancer when I was a young teenager.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah. So I did dances and concert shows and would go to clubs and stuff. And so when I went to LA, I needed a SAG card and I started to dance. So I ended up getting an agent, Dorothy Day Otis in LA, and I did a music video with Usher. I did a music video with Genuine. I did the Billboard Music Awards in 1999 with Celine Dion for the song That's the Way It Is. The Usher song was called Pop Your Collar. The Genuine song, the video is online and it's
Don't even tell me which one.
Okay.
Is
I won't then.
The Pony song?
No, not Pony, which is his biggest track.
Yeah,
it's called Ain't None of Your Friends' Business.
Okay.
There's only one white guy in the dance sequence in the middle. That's me. I slide between Genuine's legs. Yeah, I have a do-rag on. And it's a former life. I danced for an artist called Savala, who was from Norway, who Priority Records signed her in the time of like West Coast gangster rap. And quick story, we were working there. The two choreographers I worked with the most were Zero and Jamal. Jamal Sims is I think an Emmy Award-winning choreographer now. He did Aladdin with Will Smith.
Oh, wow.
And all these things. But I was tall and they were tall. And we're doing this show. We're doing a showcase for her for Priority Records. And we had 3 songs. And she's like a Britney Spears when Britney Spears was hot. You could have heard
Britney Spears was hot.
I mean, when she was at an all-time prime. You could have heard a pin drop for these 3 songs in this room, in this club in LA, because everyone in the Priority Records family was like, no, we are not going to do this. And the exec in Priority who wanted this was like, no, we have to get into the pop scene. And it did not happen. But Savala is still out there making content and music.
Yeah.
But it was so wild to me. I worked at Universal Studios for a long time. I worked at a show there called Totally Nickelodeon with Wayne Brady and his wife. They were
improv
right there at the same time. And I was just doing that. That's what I wanted to do. I got an actual real agent. I did my first audition at Warner Brothers for a television show, and I met my wife.
Frank, this is talk about just spiking a ball, planting a flag right off the bat. This is okay. So Frank, you are put together. You're a handsome dude. You're sharp. You're what, 6'2", 6'3", 6'3",
Yep.
imposing dude, right?
Yep.
You walk in, and by the way, your LinkedIn, your profile, right? You're buttoned up. Okay. So you walk in, and I'm like, this guy's articulate, intelligent. The fact that you just dropped that, like you doing acting and hip-hop dancing.
Yeah, it was former life.
Okay, so here's what I need to do. Okay. The next wedding you go to.
Yes.
Okay. I need to be invited. I will rent a busboy uniform or like a maitre d', whatever the uniform is.
Yeah.
I just want to be in the room when they're like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hit the dance floor. We're going to get it started. We're going to cut the cake. We're going to hit the dance floor. Let's have it going out. And then they drop one of the Genuine songs or Usher comes on.
Yeah.
And here comes Frank in his suit and tie with his lovely, beautiful Elise, right? Elise comes out there and all of a sudden just throws down.
It's 100%. I don't know if you like psychically know that, but that is the only time I dance anymore.
Yeah.
Is that
because
and now I'm at an age where everybody's already been married.
Because if you went to a club, right now, and you dance the way that you know how to dance, you'd be on 90 TikToks.
Yeah.
that you probably don't want to be on.
So there's a guy that I knew in the LA dance community who actually has a lot of great dance contests called Bradley Rapier. What's up, Bradley? And he is an Emmy-nominated choreographer, but he uses dance in the corporate world for a thing called Step Into the Circle. So he gets these corporate people to come together, and he forms a circle and plays music and tries to get them to come out into the circle and dance. So imagine all these. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's like a team building kind of thing. Yeah,
absolutely. And really to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Stop thinking so much of yourself and get out of your own head. So that was, wedding dancing. Awesome. I love it.
Okay.
And that's probably the only time I really dance anymore, unless it's at home. When I came to Chicago, I met my wife. We dated long distance for a year, but I came here to Chicago. I still taught at Lou Conte here in town. And I had a class that was one of the biggest sort of hip hop classes. I would have like 80 students show up for a time.
Okay.
But it didn't pay well.
No, I would imagine not.
So I needed a job. And I've had many jobs, movie theater and Arby's and all these different things.
Now, let's not get into Arby's here now. I can suck down a beef and cheddar like a Tic Tac.
It's a super roast beef with double beef, Arby's sauce, curly fries fresh out of the fryer. You can't get them cold.
Yes.
And a large Dr. Pepper.
By the way, I'm forbidden from having Arby's.
Okay.
It tastes so great, but apparently there's like a chemical reaction that happens in my body and in my stomach. And so we were on a road trip one time.
Okay.
And we stopped, the place like to stop off the highway was Arby's. Go in there, I just pounded down like 2 or 3 of the beef and cheddar sandwiches.
Yeah.
Get to my sister's house in Atlanta. She's a member at like LA Fitness or at Lifetime Fitness or something like that. And she's like, well, tomorrow I've got a plan. My personal trainer is going to be there and he's going to help us with the workout, and then we'll go to the pool, and my son's playing basketball there, and it's going to be a whole day. And we're like, okay, cool. So
I'm nervous.
I get about 10 minutes into the training. I start sweating profusely. Now, the guy who's the personal trainer is like, apparently he's like David Chokachi from Baywatch or something. I mean, he's got like abs on his abs.
Yeah.
And his chin was chiseled, and my beautiful wife is, not even aware that I'm in the room.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that the Arby's is now starting to protrude out of my pores.
Cheddar coming out of
Oh my God. It was a stench. I was offended by how I smelled. And the trainer's looking at me like, dude, like, here, why don't you go work on dumbbells over there in the corner, right? So I love the Arby's. I'm not allowed to.
This episode is not brought to you by Arby's.
It is not brought. No, it's brought to you by Arby's, but it should be co-sponsored by some form of deodorant or like internal cleansing process. Because
that sounds great.
Sounds great. It doesn't work for me though. Anyways, so we digress. I digress. Anyways,
I needed a job, and she got a call to do auto show. And I didn't even know what the hell that was. It was for Mercedes.
Okay.
So the Chicago Auto Show, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
They're product specialists that stand on turntables and talk about cars. And I went in her place. And Mercedes is like, we are only looking for ladies. Thank you. And I was like, okay. As I'm walking out, there's a sign for a Nissan. And I sold Nissans when I was 19 years old for a year in Arizona. And I was like, okay, I went in there and knocked, and I was like, hi, I know about Nissans, and I can talk good and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
I can talk good and stuff.
I was wearing like just regular clothes, and I never forget the woman from the agency was like, do you own a suit? And I was like, yes, I own a suit.
Yeah.
And I came back the next day, and that really was like a turning point. So I did auto show for 3 years. As a part of that, I met my mentor, a guy named Dave Sweet, and I told you this briefly the story. He came to me after a 2-day event and was like, listen, you don't know me, but I've got the job for you for the rest of your life. If you listen to what I have to say, you'll have to turn down work.
And this was at that young of an age.
Well, by that time this was definitely later. I was 30.
Okay, so you had taken the job, started to create some mastery,
right?
And then he met you, and he's like, I can take you next level.
And I had mentors on that side for product. I learned all about how cars work and technology and suspension and engines and infotainment technology. But training is very different from facilitation. This guy found me, recognized something in me, and then just became my Yoda.
Okay,
my Jedi. And so that led to my career that I'm in today. It's been 23 years. I'm a corporate trainer, facilitator full-time, and I've worked for 30 different clients, everything from automotive to high-end appliances. Big clients are like BMW, Jaguar, Land Rover, Rivian, Tesla, Polestar. I've worked either as a facilitator, trainer, or content developer, but also like Sub-Zero Wolf Cove, who's up in Wisconsin. I had a blessing to work for them because that's a family-owned business, and talk about $20,000 refrigerators. How do you position that to a client? And then other brands like Colgate toothpaste, Coach bags, and Northrop Grumman. But I stopped talking about product a long time ago, and I started talking about people. So interpersonal skills, leadership, then mainly the lack of great leadership and why. And just got into that people matter more than any process or any product.
Can you, in your own words, explain EQ?
Yeah.
I have an idea. I have a feeling. I think I know.
Sure.
But this is something that you're an expert at, and you're working on, and you're teaching, and you're studying, and you're refining.
Yeah.
And you're collaborating with these massively large powerhouse brands.
Yeah.
They have a lot of intelligent people, a lot of IQ.
Yeah.
But the more IQ we develop, the more EQ becomes important.
Yes.
The more technology takes over portions of what we're capable of doing and does it better and smarter, the more important EQ becomes. So can you explain in your own words, what is EQ and how does it work?
Yeah. First of all, what a great talking point, and I'm going to need your take on it when we're done, or when because I want it to be a dialogue, not a monologue, because that's what I do for a living. But EQ, right? EQ, IQ, emotional and quotient, intellectual quotient. I always look at them as both necessary, but one is in massively short supply. So to your point, IQ's everywhere. Everybody seems to be really great. And I think a lot of people in business think that the most important thing is how much you know about the product. Like, how much do you know about this item, this thing? You get your credibility and you get paid. Your success comes from how well do you know this widget? And I'm going to be clear, you do need to know the widget. But what if you know everything about the widget and you are terrible with human beings, right? What's the point or purpose?
Who buys the widget?
Yeah.
Not other widgets.
It's correct.
Yeah.
So for me, EQ, emotional intelligence, is about, at the heart of it, I guess it is about being selfless. That's where it starts. You can stop making it about yourself and make it about the person you are talking to or dealing with. And that's really, really hard because ego is very, it feels good. It tastes good in your mouth, right? It's like it makes you feel so powerful. But the second you set that aside and say, how can I serve this participant or how can I serve this client, and just ask great questions, truly listen to the answers, deliver exactly what they want the way they want, then you set aside your own bias, your own ego, your own wants, and you make it all about the person in front of you, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes. So I think a lot of people have to first admit that they are the center of their own universe. There's a guy named Jeffrey Gitomer who wrote this book called the Little Gold Book of Yes Attitude. And I saw a piece of content he did one time, and he said, who's the most important person in the universe? You or the customer? What's the typical answer?
Me.
Yeah, it should be. A lot of people think they're trained, like the customer comes first.
I got to tell you, there's this big thing that is happening. And, remember, I create. So in order to create, I have to be in it. So I have to be on it.
Yep.
So I have to be on social media constantly because I got to see what's happening.
Yeah.
So I hear this narrative. And, I'm a mental health guy, right?
Yeah, me too.
I'm in it, dealing with it, and I want to inspire people and so on. And I keep hearing this thing about, like, you got to put yourself first. You have to love yourself. You have to do this. And as much as I am starting to agree with that, I still feel yucky by it because I really feel like there's a contradiction there because I'm a faithful person too.
Yep.
And my faith says I'm supposed to put God first.
Okay.
And then I'm supposed to be next. But even in that case, you're supposed to be humble. So I'm really supposed to put my dominion ahead of me, which is my wife, my kids, people in my surroundings, because the covenant that I have with God is to be the master of my dominion, and the way to do that is to steward to those people. I'm confused, man. I don't know what to do.
That's right. So the way that Gitomer pushes that question out, he says, of course, you're the center of your own universe. When you wake up in the morning, the world's revolving around you. It's not revolving around the customer. What I've used that Gitomer quote as for a long time is, the faster you admit that you're the center of your own universe, that every time you go in with any customer, client, coworker, or friend, that you have your own wants for that conversation or your own agenda in that situation, the better you're going to be at acknowledging it and setting it aside.
Mm.
And so that's the mindset. It's like admit you're first.
Got it.
Admit we're all egotistical and we're all focused. And there's a lot of survivalism, I think, in society. It's like you're on your own. Figure it out. Go get what you got to get, but you got to do it on your own. So everybody is so guarded and protected. But the starting point to great customer service, in my experience, is okay. Let's be honest. Making the customer come first is going to take a lot of work.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people think that customer service is easy. It's really, really hard.
It's very hard.
So if you start to admit that, you're going to, okay, now this is heavy lifting. I really do have to put in the work. And it isn't just as simple as what a lot of hiring managers want to say is, you're a human, you have a pulse, you show up on time, cool, go out there, go work with customers, good luck, let me know how it goes. Like give them the necessary skills, train them, inspire them, make them feel supported and in a comfortable, working, safe environment. Then you're going to start to have an employee or a team member that looks around and goes, all right, what's the heart of this? The heart of this is the person that's directly in front of me. I can't remember the coach I heard Ryan Holiday talk the other day, the coach of the LA Rams, but their mantra is keep the main thing the main thing.
Sean McDermott.
There you go. Yeah. And that
keep the main thing the main thing.
It's just so,
if you know Christina Brady, you're a LinkedIn guy, you should follow Christina Brady on LinkedIn.
So I know her husband, awesome. Leo.
Yeah. With the White Sox, right?
Yeah. So, all right.
Or ex-husband, I think.
No. I don't know. Did something just happen?
It might have.
Oh, geez. Well, side story. Because I wanted to be an actor and I moved out here while I was doing all this career stuff, I became a filmmaker. So I've had like 7 films in film festivals across the country. Most of them are short films. We did a digital series called Black that's on Amazon still today. That's like a spy sort of action thriller. That's how I know Bobby Hits, because Bobby was an extra in that.
Yeah.
Pete Kelly was in it. And so the filmmaker side of me, that's how I met Leo Brady, because Leo's a movie reviewer with MovieGuide.com. And that's...
Oh, maybe we're thinking of a different person then.
Christina Brady, she's the CEO at Lush.
Luster.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. We're thinking of the same person.
There you go.
The reason I brought her up, though, is because on a previous podcast, she made that point. Make the thing the thing.
Yeah.
Because I asked her, I said, like, how are you managing a rollout of a company? Plus, she's in like 50 different associations. She's a public speaker. She's like now a single mom. She's like doing all of these things. I'm like, how are you managing all of these things? So when you wake up in the morning, your feet hit the ground, like what's going through your head?
Yeah.
And she's very easily and quickly said, when my feet hit the ground, I identify the priorities. I pick the one or two, and then I make the thing, and nothing else gets in the way of the thing.
That's great.
Like, so that's very similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a powerful thing, especially for somebody like me who's like, hey, there's something shiny. Look at that. Whoa. Right. Yeah. Like that is, if I could get mastery on that, I might become somebody if I could get that under control.
I think you're on your way.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Or a tranquilizer gun. That would be good too.
Sure.
Maybe just right in my neck.
I resemble that comment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you work with companies to help to install and implement this. They write the curriculum.
Yeah.
They might have an outside party that, let's say, put some edits on it, put some mastery to it.
Or develops it from the ground up.
Yeah. And then they have a contract with you where they sub it out.
Yeah.
And then they rotate employees in to essentially for you to run this seminar.
Yeah.
You made a really interesting point, and I want your take on this.
Okay.
You talked about how companies really need to inspire people. What are companies missing that they should be doing? Because I'm very much a culture believer. I believe in culture. Some people hate the word. They think it's foolish. It's crazy. Go in, do your job, get the hell out of there. And I got to tell you, like, I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
And the best teams that I was ever on, we had a culture, whereas if you hit a double, I'm going to hit a triple.
Oh, man.
And then if I hit the triple, the guy after me is like, "Whoa, you watch this, I'm hitting a homer."
Nice.
Right? And that culture of competition caused a camaraderie, and we were lifting each other constantly. And those were always the best teams. And you get on this roll, and the momentum just goes. And it's like the Lakers or any professional team.
Yeah.
They might have an a decent record, they get to the playoffs. If you're hot in the playoffs and you got that momentum, and it's like if you score 20, I'm scoring 21, and it's how many people can we get in double digits and so on, like that momentum starts to kick.
Yeah.
It's like this self-inspiration that starts to happen.
Sure.
But somebody's got to tap into starting that and building that foundation, that tradition. So like, how do you help companies do that? How do they achieve that?
You just asked so many questions.
I know, I do that.
Let's start. This one will be founders.
Yeah.
We'll come back to the founder mentality. This is leadership tools. And this is the difference between business and sports and the military.
Okay.
We'll come back to that one. The founder mentality is what, Howard Schultz realized and what Steve Jobs realized is that you have to have somebody who leads the charge, right? I remember the Tennessee Volunteers statue. I didn't know what the hell the Volunteers were, the Vols.
Yeah.
And I was doing something one time in a conversation and I Googled it and looked it up. And their mantra on the statue on the college campus is, be the light that casts the shadow. And that situation, the best leaders, the best culture, the best team have an inspirational leader at that core. And they're the motivators, and they provide top cover, and they make people feel empowered, and they let them get out over their skis and they fail. Like Tom Peters says, reward epic failures, punish mediocre successes. Right? This is if you got a founder, and I don't know who your coach was, or I don't know who it was on the team, or maybe it doesn't have to be the coach. As my writing mentor, Stephen Shedletsky, who's awesome, his thing in his book, Speak of Culture, what he talks about is capital L leaders and lowercase leaders.
Yeah.
So capital L leaders, yes, you've got the title, but anybody can be a lowercase leader, and they could create the culture. It's so much better when it comes from the founder or a founder mindset.
Yeah.
So let's say you don't have that. Right? Then it's leaders just in general. And so you're talking about culture. So many people who, I don't know why I'm so focused on your coasters, but I love them.
You could have those.
They're
coasters.
helpful. They're helpful.
Very helpful.
I'm a visual learner.
Do you want to throw some there? I'm going to need more. You want to throw some Zens in there and move the car?
No.
But here, have a remote. Remote?
No. When you mentioned culture, how does it come from? Where does it come from? My experience, heavily on the retail side, a lot of high-end retail brands, the people who were picked to be a manager, let me ask you, why do you think they got the job as the manager?
Because they were one of the top performers.
Right.
Which is a huge mistake.
Right. Tell me why.
It's a huge mistake because, number one, you just took one of your best producers off of the table.
Right.
And I have found that the top producers, in many cases, they just have whatever that it is. They have that it. It's almost innate. They don't even know how the hell they did it, which means that they probably aren't analyzing the systems, controls, procedures, the steps, the methods. They're not analyzing any of that. They just literally zip their pants, go to work, and big time shit happens.
And get shit done.
They get shit done.
Right.
And when you put a person like that in a management role, the expectations that they have are that everyone will be able to do that.
100%.
So they don't know how to communicate with the bottom third or the middle third to help them to rise up.
Yep.
And they tend to just gravitate to the top people and commiserate with them.
Yep. That's 100%. And we're like-minded, and that makes me feel great. This situation is you move them up, and you didn't give them any leadership skills, and then you leave them to your own devices.
Fill the void.
Right? Well, you leave them to their own devices, and all of a sudden, their ego says, well, I'm the best. I got picked to be the best. That's why I'm here. Guess what? Everybody has to do it the way I do it. Why wouldn't you? I'm the top performer, right? And that's problematic because people are, I look at employees no different than customers. What's the root of the word customer? Custom. Like, what are their customs? And their customs are different than yours, so you have to try to serve those people. So this situation here is, are you giving the leadership? And most of the time, leadership at its heart, at its core, about providing circles of safety and trust and the ability to be autonomous, that top performer in no way, shape, or form is in that vein. They're not in that lane. They don't want that.
I love this, and I think you will too, but this is kind of the way that I pictured it, and I think I had conversations, and it's how I arrived at it.
Yeah.
Growing up in the Chicagoland area, obviously Michael Jordan, just an absolute legend, but so was Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
And so we would always talk about, like, is that person a Michael Jordan or are they a Phil Jackson? Because, like, Michael Jordan would suck as a coach. Could you imagine being a 10th man on the bench for a Michael Jordan team?
Yep.
And your job is just to play D and shoot 3-pointers? Like, he probably looks at you like,
But
how are you even a professional?
Alpha is a player. Kobe the same way.
Yeah.
Alpha as a player, probably not a great coach.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Phil Jackson was a bruiser, did all the small stuff as a player, like had to go like overseas to play, barely made it, right? And was like a fighter, and then found his zen, was well-read, and then becomes this unbelievable leader of leaders, like the Zen master, they call him.
Yeah.
So we would start to look at our sales team and we go, that's a Jordan. Like, we're not putting them in a management role. What we need to do is make sure that we never lose them, though. So we need to just like heavily incent them.
Yep.
And what we need to do at the same time is maybe like hand them a microphone and be like, hey, could you just kind of describe real quick how you did that? And then put the mic in front of them and be like, everyone else listen real quick.
Right.
And just recognize them.
Yeah.
And then we would go, that's a Phil Jackson.
There you
That's
go.
the person that was like in first, left last.
Yep.
Always hit all their metrics, had all their stuff in on time, followed the company process. Wasn't the top performer, but wasn't the worst performer. But they seemed to everyone kind of gravitated towards them, like they were like a safe person.
Yeah.
For everyone, that was always the person we were like, that's a great manager.
And you need to be careful here, getting me started on anything to do with the Lakers.
All right.
Because I'm a diehard Laker fan. Anybody who knows me knows that I love the the world champion Los Angeles Lakers.
There you go.
Also, Boston sucks.
I could just picture you like in the Fletch outfit, you know. What does he say? 6'3", 6'8" with the afro.
That's right.
Fletch.
That's right. But when we got Phil, I studied Phil. I hated the Bulls.
Yeah.
Because I was a Suns fan when I grew up as a kid.
Man,
first year at Barkley.
Michael abused you guys.
100%. But then I moved to LA the year that Kobe got traded from Charlotte.
Oh.
So I became a Laker. But there's so many things that he did. Number one, the very first practice, he made them practice without any basketballs. So there's Rick Fox and Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal running plays all over the court. I remember a video of Rick Fox going, we were like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
And he took them back to fundamentals. And he said the basketball was kryptonite to the actual work of the team. That it became the spotlight that everybody was looking at, and it should not be. I heard Coach K say one time he talked about how he was talking to his new players, and he was like, you know that you hold the ball or have the ball in your hands only about 7% of the game.
Yeah.
What do you do or 10% of the game? What do you do in the other 90%?
Yeah.
Right? Rebound, screens, all these other aspects, but everybody loves the ball. Right?
Yep.
And so...
Well, you're a dancer, right? So that's kind of like a choreography,
100%.
Right? You all got to kind of be moving in unison, and it's like fluid. But you got to know, like, if I go here, you need to go there, within the context of the system of the play.
Yeah. But your question was about culture. The one thing I would throw in there about culture is there's a lot of leaders in older generations now that are from the world of sports or the military. And they often come into a culture situation in corporate America, and a lot of the military people are like, pull it together, suck it up.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's
what they know.
It's life or death. And it's like, no, you're taking training that has a lot of useful elements, but you are doing it through the lens of having to either kill someone or not be killed.
Yeah.
So you have to bring that down a little bit.
No, I get to go home and watch my kid wrestle. Okay. It's
the other one is sports, right? That win all mentality and the sports mentality. And like, I am coming to find out there's a lot of people who've never played sports. So it's not, there are useful elements in there just so long as it doesn't become the guiding factor. But boy, I've dealt with so many managers who are former military, and I can immediately sense it. Very good leadership skills in there to learn, but if it's my way or the highway, that's a hard leadership line to follow.
Is practicality a gift of a manager or something they have to fight against?
Tell me what you mean.
Well, think about all the personalities
that
exist within one department.
Oof.
And so, personalities are like snowflakes. They're all snowflakes. They look similar, but there's a lot of unique differences in there.
Yes.
And so what's practical to one person might be completely off the wall to another.
Yeah. So,
I've always had to kind of be careful as a manager of being like, well, yeah,
how do you not know this?
Yeah, no, this is the way.
Showing up on time is showing up on time.
They're like, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you have to realize who your audience is.
Yes.
And for them, they might be an ultra creative.
Yes.
Who operates in a different vibration and a different kind of universe.
In your email in a timely manner, doesn't want to see a spreadsheet in front of their face. I resemble this remark. But I'll go to something you said, I think in your last podcast, which was core values.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can come together as a team, yes, the leader's going to have to refine those core values and establish what they are. But when they're decided upon and when they're on the wall, the great thing about values and the great thing about a core belief is that your employees know how to act when you're not around. Like they can always just look around and go, what should we do?
Yes.
Probably should do that.
Oh, Frank, I'm so happy that you're saying that, because I felt like, and I feel like sometimes I'm speaking into the abyss. But for me, it was a life-changing event to go through that process with a group of people that were doing well, but then went through this process of really defining our brand slogan, our brand promise, our core values, our set of principles, our kind of like around the center, like on the outskirt type quotes that like they weren't the core values, but there was like our language.
Yeah.
We say these things and we believe them.
Yeah.
And I just watched exactly what you said. Like the departments and the company started to manage itself. And when that starts to happen, you have the ability to really grow, because you're not having to turn the wheel.
Yep.
It's already turning, which means you can go start another wheel.
Yeah.
And so, but again, if it's not up, if it's not on the wall, if it's not seen, if it's not talked about, if it's not embedded into incentives, the recruiting job descriptions, like if it's not embedded in all of those things, then it's just a box check. It's just slogans on the wall.
Also, if it's on the wall, but it's horseshit in the building,
exactly,
then everybody gets angrier.
Mm-hmm.
But no, absolutely, it's I was talking with somebody in corporate conversation, corporate culture, in a training, and they were like, one of the mantras for their group was no lying, no cheating, no stealing. Done. Like it's just I hate that we have to say it, but we're going to say it. And I said, where'd that come from? And one of the people, the leaders in the company that really drove that out was their mantra was, if you'll steal for me, you'll steal from me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I don't ever want you to ever think that our company is down with you doing something that is under the table, even if it's beneficial to us on the spreadsheet. And so it just became this, like, we got to say it. My mentor has a document that when you work with him, Dave has this page. There's the legal, and there's all the disclaimers and everything. And then he's got this one page, which is Dave's page. And it's got all these things. No whiners, no clock watchers, right? Our clients are the focus, not us.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through this thing and you're forced to sign it. And so if somebody's new to this whole thing and you come up, Dave will sit you down and go, did you read that page? Like, it's what we do here. It's who we are, and it's okay.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. It's okay if you're not, but that's who we are. And that's what we do. I mean, I wish I don't have any tattoos, but I'm thinking of a couple. And one of them is how you do one thing is how you do everything.
My dad used to say that to me. I take the garbage on it and tie the bag right.
Yeah.
And he wasn't upset necessarily about the bag not being tied properly unless like the raccoons got into it, right?
Yeah.
But what he was more upset about is that exact notion. And he would say to me all the time, he goes, once a shortcutter, always a shortcutter. And his premise was how you do one thing is how you do another thing, right?
Yeah.
So like if you shortcut it on this, you'll shortcut on your relationships, you'll shortcut on your saving of money and all the other things in your life. So great premise. How do you apply that to your training? Like in your training, do you have a set of core values, like an agreement that you go through with the people in the class ahead of time, where you maybe let's say institutionalize? You start off with like, hey, here's the expectation in this class. If you're here, you're fully here, and then here's what we do in this class. Do you do something like that, or did we just collaborate and come up with an idea?
Well, I mean, in every program, we lay out our agenda, then we lay out what's called an ERO, an end result outcome, and at the end of this class, 6 months after this class, what do you want? What do we want you to do differently?
Yeah.
But we also lay out sort of some ground rules, and they're kind of funny. Cheat, You're here for 3 days to learn stuff. I don't expect you to learn it all. Feel free to cheat. Feel free to look it up, Google it, bribe my co-facilitator. It's okay. This is the place to ask.
Ooh, I like that.
Number 2, perfect practice. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Just ask Charles Barkley when it comes to his golf swing.
Mm-hmm.
Then feel free to make mistakes, because if you do, you're safe. And the last one is have fun. Like it's really weird for these people. They come in and they do not expect to have a good time. And we are like, having fun is what this is all about.
Yeah.
When participants are engaged in having a good time, they are more likely to retain the information,
1,000.
make it their own. And corporate culture just frowns on this for some reason. Like they're like, oh, we can't be having a good time. We're not really learning.
What is that?
It's ones and zeros. There's a book called Human Sigma that I'm a huge fan of, and in there they call it the Terminator School of Management. So it started way back in Henry Ford. The old quote, he said, why is it that I got the whole person when all I wanted was a set of hands? And so it's like, a lot of people are like, I need you to just come in and do the job. And no, you get the whole person. You get all the pieces and parts. So the Terminator School of Management is about spreadsheets, quarterlies, monthly totals, daily totals. And those things are all necessary. It's IQ.
Yeah.
But you can't just be about that.
I don't think there's a whole lot of soul to IQ. It's all soul with EQ.
Remember, I am not here to bash IQ.
No, I think it's pretty damn important.
You gotta have it.
Yeah.
But the shortage is an EQ. And I think a lot of people don't believe that EQ sells. I think they think that IQ sells. That book, Human Sigma, you can find it anywhere, Amazon, whatever. It was a 25-year study that interviewed 20 million people. And what they found was when customers are emotionally engaged, they pay 23% more profit, 33% less price sensitive, 44% less likely to shop around, and 300% more likely to bring repeat and referral business back. The only separation was both groups, rational and emotional, were satisfied with products or services, but the only separation is that there was an emotional group over here, and they were so much more exponentially beneficial.
Yeah, more of a brand experience.
My gosh. And that's, it's really just hard. I think a lot of these people, I had one guy one time, I was in New York, really thick, like Armenian accent, and I'm talking about to service customers when they're coming for oil changes and stuff. Videos are a big thing now. Shooting technician videos when the car's up on the lift to show you the actual repair.
Yeah.
We are trying to encourage them to be nice on the video.
Yeah.
Show your face. Say, thank you for bringing your vehicle in. We really appreciate it.
I can only imagine.
And this guy's like, wait a minute, Frank, so you're saying you want me to kiss their ass? And I was like, kinda.
Yeah.
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 I don't want you.
You want them to come back? If they come back, you kind of have job security.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. And I don't want to fault anyone, because I don't know what mental health struggles are going through. I don't know if their boss is terrible. I don't know if they're making enough money. But those things are still their thing. It doesn't take anything away from how EQ is necessary for long-term repeat referral business and loyalty.
You're a big Gary Vee fan, as am I.
Yeah.
One of the things he talks about is the best marketing strategy you could possibly have is to be kind.
Good care.
It's whole care.
It's easy.
Just care.
But it's hard.
It's easy, but it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, man, I'm a Vayner junkie. Shout out to Claude Silver, who I will tag in one of these. That's his chief heart operator officer, amazing woman leader in their company. But man, 1 is greater than 0. You're going to die. These are things that three-word statements, whatever, that just were branded on.
It's kind of a brand slogan expert.
Yeah. Yeah. And empathy is a superpower. These are not really corporately known. I think everybody's conscious of all these things, but it's about awareness.
But why isn't corporate USA paying attention to the fact that this guy, came from a Russian immigrant family.
Yeah.
His dad owned a very small liquor store. He, came up in the liquor store.
Yep.
Coming up as the son of a immigrant entrepreneur. He's, hustling on the corner, doing his thing. Then he goes into the wine shop. Then he figures out this whole internet thing, and he realizes that he can take the wine sales next level if they start marketing to the masses.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he just puts a phone on record and starts recording himself. And now he's got up close to 500 million followers or some crazy number.
Seems corporate America like there is a need.
Yeah, like why isn't corporate USA like realizing that so many human beings are gravitating to a person like that is speaking that EQ mantra, that empathy mantra, that kill them with kindness, that, be emotional, speak your truth, swear if you want to, and yet the public gravitates to that. The public works for corporate USA, but corporate USA has a hierarchy that says, no, that's not possible. Is that because there's HR balance? I don't understand that. I would imagine.
The answer is, I don't know.
Yeah.
But my guess is that those big corporations didn't do what Gary did, which is work person to person, customer to customer every single day at his mom and dad's liquor store. He tells a story one time of somebody calls and they ordered some wine or something, and it was for either Thanksgiving or Christmas. I don't know if you know the story.
No.
And he gets that call and he's working for his dad, and they're like, oh man, we're having Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner. We need this. So Gary, and it was like a snowstorm or something, he takes these 2 or 3 bottles of wine, which are not that expensive at all, and he drives like an hour to their house and he drops it off in person. Now, here's the cool part of the story. The person who opened the door goes, oh, thanks, closes the door in his face.
Yeah.
Right. And his dad was furious. His dad was like, what are you doing? Leaving the store and go, what are you talking about? And Gary he was like, it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And I won't know ever if that customer is going to come back. I don't think you should never expect that customer to come in and be like, you did that one thing for me that one time, and that's why I am here and giving you all my money.
But should you do nice things because you expect them in return, or should you do nice things just because you should do nice things?
Man, you're speaking to all my digital mentors. Will Guidara in Unreasonable Hospitality has taught me that being altruistic, being kind is its own reward. Like the stuff that I do for participants, I would love a needle to move. Great, more work will come my way. But I will say to you, whatever I have done for them, these little things that I do, I get so much more out of it than anything they get from it.
Yeah. My wife says to me, she goes, we'll be at a wrestling, and I'm cheering for my son like crazy, but he's on a team too, and it's an individual sport, but it's a team sport.
Sure.
Well, I'm cheering for every kid like they're my own kid on the team. And she looks at me one time and she goes, why are you cheering so hard? Like slapping 5 with all these kids, why are you doing that? And I go, because it makes me feel good to try and make them feel good. So it's not completely about I want to make them feel good so they say thank you. Yeah. It's more like it just feels right to me to kind of just share that energy, to let them know that I see you, man. I see you. I see how hard you're working. I just feel like I feel validated by validating.
100%. It's the right thing to do, right? It's a bigger mission. You talked about your belief and talked about faith. And it's just the way it should be. It's what it's about. So don't stop doing it.
So give us your best story of a class. You're facilitating a class.
Yeah.
You're running this class. Right now you're doing a contract with BMW, right?
Yeah. So I've worked for them for almost 20 years.
And that's an amazing gig. I just saw some of your content with some of the executive staff and some of the folks that are dealing with the race team. So you're in it, man.
They're a really good company and really good people. Shout out to the entire BMW Group universe.
Damn good car, too.
It is.
Back-to-back BMW owner. I freaking love them.
All the brands I've worked for, I'm so lucky that I have not had to work for a crappy brand.
Yeah.
Daihatsu calls me up, or Yugo, and we'd like you to come chain on our car. But I've worked with premium, high-end brands, and it's such a blessing because I leave the car stuff to the car people, the factory reps. They're going to make it. I can't control how it's made. But then I'm like, okay, now we have a fantastic car. My job is to try to come in and generate a really complimentary experience to go with that. I want to say, go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't imagine the brand pride. To be an engineer at BMW.
Yes.
That's that carries some weight, man.
The stuff that they do, the capability, and all of the brands are great, right? Mercedes is great. All these different things are great, but there is stuff that BMW does that is so cutting edge, and it is a global team. I think it's 150,000 employees now in 33 countries and 110 countries and 33 different factories. So I am one facilitator, by the way, who's just based in Chicago, who works the U.S.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm part of a big global team that does all this stuff.
It's the ultimate driving machine, baby.
And we create the ultimate customer experience to go with it.
Let's go.
That's
All right. So tell us the coolest story. Like you're running one of these classes.
Yeah.
Let's say that, there was a stallion that you had to break in the class, just wouldn't fall in line. Or, there was a person that just was, a doubter from the jump. And at the end of it, they stood up and they were like, slow clapped you. You know what I mean? like
Judd Nelson.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's go, Frank.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
like, do you get that positive feedback where like, Frank, I got to tell you, I thought this was going to suck. And this has been one of the best experiences. Like, give us one of those.
every class.
Yeah, come on.
I am not joking.
That's so
And
cool.
let me be clear. Let me set ego aside. I try to do the best I can do. I absolutely try to make it fun and entertaining and engaging. But it is the principles and teachings of what adult facilitation is. Ask first, discuss second.
Yeah.
Lecture is not learning. Telling is not teaching. Never do for participant what a participant could and should do for themselves. These are all things that I got from my mentor, and I've now tried to find 2 or 3 people that are up for the journey of what facilitation is. And it's, I want to say it's me, but it ain't me.
Okay.
Like, it can't be me every time. They're like, best class ever. It's not. There are people.
You're tipping your cap to the curriculum then.
To the trade.
Yeah, to the trade.
Skill set. It's like,
it's humble of you.
Woodworking, like you can be a great carpenter, but there are decades and generations of people who know how to make these tools and these things work. So I think it's a balance of both those things. I've had many times where people have come up to me and said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Thought this class is going to be dog shit, and a waste of my time.
But when you did that hip hop dance,
no, they're like, I'm glad it was. I've had several times where people come up and said this changed my life. I've had people come up then say I was going to quit.
Really,
has changed my mindset. I'm glad I went through this. It's re-inspired me. And also, I co-facilitate with a lot of other amazing facilitators. So it's not just me. I'm always got a partner in this and what they're doing. I will say that I got better and better and better. The less and less I went from making the training about me and made the training more and more about the participants. And, a lot of these mantras are from my mentor, Dave, but one of the key ones is participants first, content second. So if I'm told I have to train on these 5 things, but somewhere in the midst of that, somebody's like, hey, I have to speak up here. This is what I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
They can see actively when I go, first of all, thank you for raising your hand. Thank you for saying that. It's not part of the program, but we're going to stop and we're going to talk about it. It also encourages the rest of the participants to sit back and go, oh, that gives me the capability to raise my hand as well. I'll never forget, I was co-facilitating with someone a long time ago, and we had a participant who was a know-it-all. So this is a person who every time you bring a fact, they'd be like, actually, it's subline 4, second,
It's weird. I don't recall being there. Okay.
But and that was their ego. I recognize it now. They want to feel validated. Often they're like, why are you up there and I'm down here in the seat? So I don't get defensive about that. I haven't for a long time. So when he was doing this, every time this person would sort of raise their hand to do something, I knew it was coming. And I'd be like, Mark, I don't remember the name, but Mark, tell me, what is it? Oh, well, the 328 is this and that model year was that. And I was like, I love it when participant teaches me something, man. I told you from the beginning, I'm a facilitator. My job is just to help. To facilitate just means to help you know what you already know, maybe a little bit better. And so I could diffuse all of that. Well, my co-facilitator was not down for this. And it was like a multi-day training. Right in the middle of it, this person couldn't take it anymore. And the person stops the training and goes, I know what you're doing. I don't appreciate what you're doing. Everybody in here doesn't appreciate what you're doing, and I'd like you to stop.
Woo-wee.
I'm in the back of the room going, oh, shit.
Here we go.
We're screwed.
Yeah.
We're screwed because now what's that say to every other participant? If I have something I want to challenge or if I have a question, I don't buy into this. And it was crickets for the rest of the couple of days.
Yeah, you don't want them to necessarily fall in line.
Yeah. When you lose your authority, you give away all your authority.
Yeah.
And you don't, it's really a great leadership tenet. Leaders, when you're a leader, again, shout out to Shed on this one, when you're a leader, a whisper is a shout. You shouldn't have to be the person yelling. You shouldn't ever be that person, trying to crash down on people. You should let them sort of figure it out on their own. And I've had participants 2-3 day class start off just naysayers. And it's just great facilitation. It's just gonna ask more questions. Like, tell me why you feel that way.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
IT decision makers, this might sting. Frustrated with IT issues, security threats, and the stress of your technology infrastructure? Your technology should blend seamlessly with your business objectives. Technology infrastructure management with limited resources can be exhausting and counterproductive. Do you have an MSP but still have problems and technical hiccups? GSD's advisement, proactive maintenance, cutting-edge cybersecurity, cloud solutions, data backup, and local 24/7 help desk can change the game. Your technology should outpace your business operations to allow for growth, and proactive strategies should prevent issues before they arise. Get back your time and your money with GSD. Drive business forward. Leave the technology to GSD. GSDnow.com. Those are the best managers I've found that I've worked for. They would guide me to the answer.
There you go.
But it felt like I came up with the answer.
Yeah.
So because of that, I felt more accountable to implement it.
Yeah.
Whereas I've had managers who told me what needed to be done and how it needed to be done.
Right.
And I would in any way, shape, or form approach that problem that way.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I'm capable of approaching the problem that way or executing it in that way.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you're fighting the process of getting it done.
Right.
Because
it's not my idea.
Yeah, it's not my idea. Yeah. So I love that concept because it's very true. And I think it's also very true in sales. Yes. I think people are really tired of being sold to. Mm-hmm. I've talked about this on numerous episodes. I'm sticking to it because I'm in branding and marketing, and I truly believe that attention awareness leads to demand. Demand leads to lead generation. Lead generation, if you have a volume of it, increases the odds that you can partner with the people that will be great partners for you. You can kind of cherry pick in that regard.
Yeah.
And you can really manage relationships at that point. So
it's awesome.
And that all comes from giving people reasons to buy. And that can't just be products and services and price. That has to be on the total brand experience, the culture, the core values, like the whole picture.
Yeah.
That when somebody looks at your content, they're like, ooh, I like that about that. Oh, I can relate to that. Oh, I have that in common. Ooh, that feels right. Like if they can get all of that before they get to the point of interaction with a salesperson, it makes the salesperson's journey a lot faster and easier and probably a lot smoother.
Yeah.
That being said, I have found that the method of selling seems to remain. And we talked about this, like the bro culture of sales, right? Of like, and I came up in this culture of like buyers are liars,
right?
Like, all those things you tell yourself so that you can overcome the pain of rejection.
Yeah.
Because if you made 10 calls and you failed on all 10, if it's your fault, it's hard to make the 11th call. So you almost go buyers are liars and you say these crazy things that you wouldn't say in any other context.
Yeah.
You would not say something like this. You say it almost so that you can, maintain your confidence. You can make the 11th call, but it becomes a culture killer.
Yeah.
Because if the vets are saying it, the younger folks are embracing it. The younger folks come up, new folks come in, and it just radiates throughout the culture and creates a bad customer experience. So how are you diffusing that? What are the lessons that you're teaching? Well, how does sales and marketing need to change its style of communication, whether it be in person or through content, to connect with people on a deeper level?
Well, there's so much there in that question. So number one, I'm not a marketing person. Like I see you and I see Dale and I see what you're doing with these unique styles of marketing yourself out to customers. Because the days of cold calling are so gone and it's just not there. As Vayner would say, attention is the asset. If you can get somebody to give you 5 minutes, you should be incredibly grateful.
Yes.
But I think it's when you talk about culture, it's first of all just trying to put it on the table. I did this with this class this last week. I was talking to a bunch of people who work at a car dealership and they're in retail sales. And I say, what are the typical words that customers use to describe people in the car industry? And what do you think their answers were?
Sleazy.
Yep.
High pressure.
Yep.
Scumbags.
Scumbags.
Transactional.
Right. The stealership.
Yeah.
where everybody goes.
Oh, the stealership. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one.
And so they're all, they're just like, they're there and I can feel that they hate it. And there are some people who embrace it. Like you said, they do it as a badge of honor. Like I'm going to, and then I flipped that coin right over and I was like, okay, what are terms that our own industry uses to describe customers? And they're like, buyers are liars, tire kickers, time wasters, and I'm like, show me another business that has a natural adversarial relationship with their customers. And I think in conversation with you, what I'm realizing is it ain't just this. It's selling insurance or washing machines. Like, customers need things. You sell things. How do you approach that? And I think this is also why we get back to the manager, the Terminator School of Management. There's always a quarterly report. There's always a spreadsheet and a number that we have to hit.
Yeah.
So it's these two hills that are going against each other. I often frame it as a hunting lodge versus a farm. I can walk into any business most of the time and I can tell if it's a hunting lodge because there's stuffed heads of customers over the sales counter with all the plaques underneath of how much money we got from them.
Yeah.
But the problem is you killed them and they're done.
Yeah.
They're never coming back. But if I walk into some businesses or dealerships or just teams, culture, I can tell it's a farm. They know the long-term game. They are the ones that are planting and they are okay with a no and they treat a no with respect, but at the same time, they keep offering value.
Yeah.
Right. As Vayner would say, like jab, 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 and then left hook, right? Give value as much as you can. And that is creating content like this and it's inspiring their own employees so that some internal, low-level employee will go to the leader and be like, hey, look at this message. Look at this company. Like they're really cool. Let me share this with you. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does answer the question. And I do want to make it clear that while I love that you said, I love that you lumped me in with Dale. Thank you. Because I think he's absolutely brilliant and phenomenal. But the fact is, like, we're sellers.
Yeah.
We just happen to figure out that, like, this is an amazing platform and vehicle to be able to always be providing a message, to always be showing up, to always be showing people who we really are and what we stand for. So, we get to a point through doing that where people go, I feel like I know you, and they don't really know me.
Right.
They feel like they know me. So that just took the sales cycle down by about 25% because there's trust already established. And then if we show up the way that we show up on content, then there's authenticity. So then that establishes even more trust.
Yeah.
So the reason that I lumped in marketing with sales is because I really think that salespeople need to start to market.
You are not wrong.
And
100%.
I think it's so key. And I think that that's the lesson that a Gary Vaynerchuk, who is a consummate salesman, has become a marketer. But is he really a marketer or is he a brand champion? He's just always talking the brand. He's always talking the whole brand picture, not the product or the service, the whole picture.
Yeah, his brand. He's not ever on there like, our brand is wine or our brand is marketing for Apple or whatever. Our brand is doing these commercials. Our brand is our culture. Yeah. So it's like, oh, by the way, we also sell this and that. I want to be clear when we talk about automotive dealerships and all my experience, that bad sort of Apple experience is less and less and less every day.
Well, that's your mission.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. And this is also the reason why they're hiring you to do this.
Yeah.
And this is why you have to applaud BMW and Nissan and some of these other companies that you've interacted with. And you're one of many that are doing this throughout the world. And I do applaud them for it because I think that they have recognized that there is a stigma that society has that they need to break in order to move forward and have better relationships.
What I say to them is that this is actually a great thing because it means the bar is so low when they actually come into your building. You don't have to be miraculous to be awesome.
Just to stand out a bit.
Just do a little bit better than what their expectations are. But the problem is one or two false steps, you're going to immediately fulfill the negative perception. But there are so many great dealerships out there and so many great businesses, whether they're in appliances or clothing, that do get it. It's just hard because it takes time.
Yeah.
And you have to have the patience to see a big picture in what's going on. I mean, Vayner started 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, it's about that.
So when you're interacting with, especially the youthful salespeople, and you're interacting with all demographics, but before we started recording, we had a conversation. You were talking a little bit about Gen Z.
Yeah,
I'm always interested to kind of get people's perspective on Gen Z because as a Gen Xer, clearly we're the best generation ever, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Of course.
when the street lights went on, we knew to be home.
How did I?
Every one of our moms and dads had a whistle. And that whistle typically was 2 fingers in the mouth, and we knew the distinct whistle. Well, that was my dad. That was your dad just whistled. You got to be home. Like, we knew the whistle. Yeah. I was talking to somebody the other day. It was like, their kid wanted to go down the street to Target. I was like, I got to drive the kid down the street to Target. I'm like, you realize that we would have just hopped on our skateboards. And we would have rode our skateboards in the middle of the street with cars like piled up behind us, honking at us. We wouldn't have cared. But the Gen Z group they're getting a bad rap.
Yes.
They can't be all bad.
Most of them aren't.
And there's got to be a lot of fantastic attributes about them. And by the way, they're kind of the future. So us Gen Xers...
the majority of the workforce now.
Yeah. And us Gen Xers kind of need to understand and learn and cope because they're going to be the ones taking care of us when we can't, the needs are bad and we can't take care of ourselves. And they're going to take this world to the next level. So what are your thoughts on Gen Z? What are some of the things you would love to see them improve upon, work on? And what are some of the things that you want to highlight that you think are absolutely amazing you tip your cap to?
I think first of all, I'm not a generational specialist, but I would say that one time I was dealing with a group of leaders, and the older generation leaders were doing nothing but complaining about the millennials. They were just like, they're the worst. They're so lazy. They don't do this. They don't show up. And I did a quick Google search on my computer while the projector was up, and I typed in, millennial generation, thoughts, and multiple stories came up from Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine and all these different things, and it showed that Gen Z is the hardest working generation. Yeah.
Well, I do want to make it clear as a Gen X, millennials are the worst generation. I'm talking about Gen Z. I'm just kidding, millennials. I'm just kidding.
You and I didn't have cell phones back then. You and I didn't have 24-hour email.
Had to be tough.
We didn't have to create video content. It was you sent a letter, or you did photocopies,
wrote
or
a card.
fax machine.
Will you go on a date with me?
Right.
Check the yes box.
We didn't have social media to deal with and market ourselves.
Snapchat.
And there is a 24-hour work cycle that these people are in now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that is tough, but they figured it out. They figured it out because they're making content at 11 o'clock at night because that's when they like to work. And then you've got the older generation leaders who are like, you were 5 minutes late to work this morning. Give me a break.
Okay. So editors on this podcast. So at that clip right there,
yes,
if you could turn it up to 11, because I have this in my head, it bothers me. Because you can't yell at somebody that they came in at 8:05 when they were on from 11 to 1 a.m. doing work for your brand.
Right.
Did you pay them extra for that? Did you pat them on the back? Did you reward them when you saw they were online?
Right.
No. Right. You didn't say a damn word. There was no bonus check. There was no recognition. There was no nothing. And they were on from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. A customer reached out to them at 11 o'clock. They're sitting there watching Seinfeld reruns, and they responded and engaged in a lengthy conversation.
Yeah.
They're managing their LinkedIn and Instagram profile, and they're engaging with people that are engaging on their content. That's work. They're working. It's just a different form of work that maybe you're accustomed to, because that's not a door handle you're pulling or a phone you're dialing, but it is work, and they're representing the brand.
Yep.
And then they show up at 8:07 because there was 5 lights out and a tree that fell down.
Yep.
And we got an issue with that?
Yep.
Come on.
Yeah. And then they refer to them as lazy and all these different things, and there's a ton of statistics that say that that's not the case. What do they do really, really well? They are very fast thinkers. They are incredibly creative. They're entrepreneurs at heart. YouTube basically shows them that if they start a channel and they open toys full time, they could be millionaires. Does that happen all the time? No, it's a lightning bolt. It's just like the NBA. There's no guarantee that your channel is going to be the one. But there are a lot of channels.
They grew up in the Mr. Beast generation.
Correct. And they can start up and do these different things. So when somebody from an older generation comes in and says, hey, in my day, just first of all, stop there. But in my day, you got to a company, you worked with that company for 30 years, you gave your heart, you gave your soul. They're going to turn right back around and look at you and go, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I can go from one company to another, and I can build the life that I want.
And I can be a specialist.
That's it. I don't have to be in your world because your world really doesn't exist anymore. And they often, the younger generation, in my experience of leadership training, looks at these older generations like, what'd you get for those 30 years?
I got bald.
Did you come out of that like miraculously amazing? Because they're all freaking out when these people work until they're 60 and then they retire. They're like, what did you go on vacation? Now you're going to go on your vacation?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go on my vacation when I'm 22.
They want to see the world.
That's it. And they are. So I think that especially people in retail, the younger generations are really good at social media, really good at marketing themselves and building a brand. They do need guidance. They need somebody to come along and say, what is corporately professional? What represents our brand? How is this going to be reflected? I think if you don't give them some sort of framework, they're just going to go off on a tangent.
So I so appreciate that you said that, because I have this belief that, like, I've watched brands fight their people off of the idea of being a personal brand. And there's a multitude of reasons why they do that. Number one, they don't have the social guidelines and they're nervous that their person is going to speak out of turn, say something bad, misrepresent the brand, whatever. Number two, they don't want them necessarily to create a personal brand because they could become big, they could become recruitable, they could be taken away.
Yeah.
So they kind of don't want them in that situation.
Yeah. So what you just said, to be clear, BMW is a client of mine. I'm not a corporate employee, and everything I say is just on my own.
Yeah.
I hope I've said nothing to alienate anyone.
You haven't. I mean, I'm going to get fired, but you're fine.
But I mean, I have to do that. Any client that deal with, right, Rivian, I have to represent myself still in that way, that I'm a vendor of theirs.
Yes.
And I'm held accountable. I can't, so building my own brand and at the same time doing that, it is a balance.
And that's why I say that I really think what brands should lean into is teaching social media and branding in a corporate setting, because these Gen Z folks have mastered social media. They grew up on it. I watched my 15-year-old son take 38 pictures of himself in about a 15-minute span. And I looked at him and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm just chatting with friends." I said, "You're chatting with friends through pictures?" He goes, "Yeah, we take pictures of facial expressions.
That's right.
We write a little quote and then we flip it over to them on Snapchat, and then they do a picture of what they're doing, and that's how they're communicating." Okay, well, I could go, that's crazy, but that's kind of what they grew up on, and that's the way the app works. So they understand it from a social standpoint. Like, they understand the ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
What they don't understand is how to do what a Dale Dupree does, or what a Darren McKee does, or an Alex B. Sheridan, where they can stand in front of the camera, present the organization in a very professional manner, right? And still transfer energy, passion, authenticity, and inspiration. I really think what companies should be doing is investing in training their staff members, especially in sales and marketing, of how to become corporate influencers instead of fighting with them against it.
And the franchise model in the United States, basically, any manufacturer, Toyota, they're all the stores are still independent. So the only person making that decision is the dealer principal.
Yeah.
So it's from store to store to store. The policies are going to change. But I've seen salespeople, the ones that create their own sort of personal brand and do it in a professional way that honors the brand they're selling. But a lot of these salespeople sell like 7 brands.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Their dealer franchise has a group that, like Penske or something, they sell a whole bunch of brands. So they do have to make their own personal brand. Those are the ones that are super, super successful.
Yeah.
Word of mouth comes around. You said something earlier, like people want to get to know you. The old adage is people work with people that they know, like, and trust.
That's it.
So you got to get them to know you, like you, and trust you.
Foresight did a study that people want 86% of the buying experience to be humanless. So what that tells me is, like, they don't want to talk to a salesperson until they want to talk to a salesperson.
Yeah.
But so if that's the case, then you're just really waiting until somebody's 10% away from the buy. And you can't really do that as a company. That's not safe, especially when you're dealing with big competition that has major advertising dollars, and you're dealing with just competition of people in roles, peers, and so on across the board.
Yeah.
So what you really have to do is you have to show up online where people are. And where they are is on social media. They're spending 36 days, the equivalent of 36 days a year we spend on social media. I think that number is up in the 40s now.
Wow.
40-day equivalent of our life in a year we spend scrolling on social media.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, like, I don't want to see a paid ad.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't want to see somebody rifling through their products and services.
Look at this thing.
Especially in a boring way. Like, if you're selling BMWs, like, make it crazy. Like, take it on a test drive, put the camera on, and, like, do something pretty cool with it, right? But we want to see people doing interesting things in an entertaining way while informing us.
100%. I think that it's about being also a really good storyteller.
Yes.
Some of the great content creators in the car world, those people are the ones that tell their customer stories. If the customer is up for it, they'll shoot a quick video and they'll tell the story of how you got to BMW. Like, why out of all the cars we were there. And these people, it's a third generation family car for us, or my dad had one, or I've always aspired to have an M3.
It's an immediate testimonial, though.
Yeah. And it's about that building of trust. I think you said something that was super powerful, that 86% is done online.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me, yes, I'm going to leave the marketing to you and to Dale about that 86% and making it great. My job, my wheelhouse is that other, I'm not good at math, 14%. That 14% in person better be miraculous.
It has to be miraculous.
You got to be ready. And so in the automotive world, and this is all manufacturers, they're now selling cars digitally. So different from a Rivian and a Tesla, which they don't have the franchise model. They're selling direct to consumers. Everybody else in the United States sells through a franchise. Those stores now have an online platform where customers can do the entire sales process for a car all the way to buying the car, getting in their credit report. The only thing they come into the dealership for is the delivery.
Mm-hmm.
That delivery better be fantastic.
On point, because you make your money on absorption rate.
Yeah.
You need them to come back for the service. That's why when you go into a dealership now, it's like a freaking spa.
But I remember one time there was a store, and I don't remember the brand. That's probably good that I don't. They were charging a delivery fee to customers who bought their car digital because they didn't make their money on the back end of the finance office. So they were punishing the digital customer by saying, you have to pay a delivery fee to come get the car. It's terrible. Yeah. Absolutely terrible. It's hunting lodge versus farm.
You can never penalize a buyer.
Right. Especially if you're giving them the platform.
Reward them and tell a friend.
Yeah, you're the one that you set up this digital platform for you to do this. And everybody who does digital shopping in that way, the overwhelming majority, I think a stat we saw from either Accenture or something that we use in our content and trainings was that people who do 50% of greater of their research for a car online have the highest level of satisfaction and overall experience. So if they're doing more online before they get to you, they are actually happier when they come to buy the car.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So Frank, the life journey has been amazing. I mean, theater, hip hop dancing, a stint at Arby's,
Correct.
A stint at Nissan, getting in with these big automotive brands.
Yeah.
Getting to interact with like just amazing top to bottom talent. Because as a facilitator, you're not just working with entry level.
Right.
You're working with executives, mid management, all different roles.
Yeah.
And you're kind of, downloading. You're downloading in an EQ way.
Yeah.
Culture, inspiration, policy, procedure, principles. You're kind of mixing it all in there. So it's like, it's not just what we should do, it's why we should do it and how we should do it to get the best results. So it's pretty damn cool. This has led you to build up this knowledge base, which now you've been asked to write a book. Right?
Well, nobody asked me to.
Well, I did. I'm asking you. So finish the book, damn it.
Yeah.
But you're working with an editing team who's putting some demands on you to write it a certain way. It's right. Really to put it out there.
It's a really wild story. If I can make it quick,
you can make it not quick.
During COVID, I made a pledge that I was going to work for Simon Sinek. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to work for him. His books start with why. We've been talking about the why all day. Leaders Eat Last.
Target.
Just these are amazing. And I wanted to do it, and I filled stuff out, and it went off, and they lost track of me because of COVID. They lost people, and it all changed. But from that, I met this guy named Stephen Shedletsky, who is the author of Speak Up Culture. He's worked for Sinek, still works for Sinek today, but he's building his own brand now with his own book. And he saw me sort of trying to, gain an inroad to work for Sinek. It didn't work out, which is fine. But he and I became friends. And we shared this same like-mindedness of how it's about people and it's about doing better and business. And his whole thing is creating a culture that is worth it and safe to speak up. In his whole first chapter of his book, he talks about the Boeing scandal with these planes and how not having a speak up culture can be life and death. And that 2 planes went down and hundreds of people died. And there were whistleblowers and people didn't feel comfortable to speak up. So that's, his book really resonated with me. Anyways, we became friends, and I said, on an offhand comment one time we were talking, and I said, yeah, I wrote a book during COVID. And he was like, I'd love to read it. I was like, okay. So I gave him my manuscript, and he read it, and he was like, it's really good. Would you be okay if I took it to my publisher? So he took it to the publisher in Canada. Shout out to Page 2 and Jesse. And they read it and they liked it. And they're like, we like it. We would like to publish it. And I was like, okay. And they were like, here's our fee. And they're a hybrid publisher. So the simple understanding is they do all this work up front. You pay up front, and then you own the book sort of outright. Yeah. They'll help you publish it digitally and all those things. The fee was pretty high. And I said, that's very, very nice of you. I do want to do this book, and but I can't afford it right now. And so they were like, the publisher is so nice. And I don't even know if I'm okay to tell the story now, but I'm going to. The woman, Jessie, was like, when you're ready, you come back to us and we got you back. We're excited. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go find some job that's going to help me pay for it. And I went to Shed because he was my referral. And I called him and I said, hey, I just want you to know that I'm not going to be able to do it. And he was like, why? What's holding you back? And I was like, money.
Yeah.
I work a lot, but I have a lot of bills and all these things. Yeah. And he was like, is that the only reason? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, how about this? I'll pay for it. And then you pay me $500 a month. And I was like, what?
How cool is that?
And I was like, why? And he said, well, because you never asked me. And I was like, I wouldn't. I've only known you for a year.
Yeah.
And he said, number 2, it's a good book. It needs to be out in the world. And then his most important thing was number 3. Why is your book any less worthy of being out in the marketplace versus mine just because you don't have the resources? And I was like, so I asked him all these. My wife was like, no, we're going to ask some questions here.
Yeah.
Is there any interest on this? And he was like, nope. And do you own any of my IP? He's like, nope. I said, what if I miss a payment? Like I'm a little late one month. He's like, just give me a heads up. And so that's what we did.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's crazy, man. So yeah, I have a car payment every month.
Yeah.
To get my book done. And it's absolutely incredible. He like many other people just found me and helped change my life. And so we started in January of this year working at editing the book, and hopefully it'll be out in the first quarter of next year. Strangely enough, the working title of the book is The Lost Art of Giving a Shit.
I love that title.
I didn't know about the subtle art of not giving a fuck before this. And
okay.
People were like, you mean it's a follow-up? I was like, it's not a follow-up.
Yeah.
In the preface of the book, I thought long and hard about calling it The Lost Art of Caring, The Lost Art of Giving a Hoot, The Lost Art of Customer Service, and none of them resonated in the same way for me. And to your point...
Well, it's pop culture speak too.
Yeah, but to your point, so many corporate CEOs, people I've met, leaders, they're like, what's the book called? And I said, it's The Lost Art of Giving a Shit. They say the same thing. They're like, that's exactly what I need. Or that's exactly what I want my employees to do. It all resonates around the first page of the book, and it's called The Big Idea in 3 parts. Part 1, according to Gallup, in 2024, I don't know if you can Google it, but the current number, I think, is $7.7 trillion in lost productivity due to disengaged employees globally. That's trillion with a T. So it's called I think it's the Gallup Employee Engagement Study. Disengaged employees, lost productivity. So that's the first line, right? According to Gallup, $7.7 trillion in lost productivity in 2024 alone due to disengaged employees.
8.8.
Now it's 8.8.
Jeez.
That's line 1. Line 2 says, some of you who just read that first fact don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's true.
And line 3 says, some of you are more upset than I said the word shit than the first thing I said.
We've had a similar situation with the podcast.
So it's like, where are your priorities?
Yeah.
You want change and you want people to do better in business and sell more and be better leaders, but everybody's so laissez-faire about it. They're just so what do you expect of me? What do you want me to do? I said, I expect you to give a shit. So it's basically a training manual.
Attitude and effort.
Yeah.
You control that. Everything else, the cards fall where they may.
Yeah.
You got to learn. You got to be trained. People, you got to finesse people. You got to negotiate. Things happen. People get sick, all these other things. But you certainly can control giving a shit because that's just effort and attitude.
Yeah. And so it's a training. The byline is a training manual for any employee who serves a customer or any leader who serves that employee. And so it's broken into 5 simple sections. Either you do or you don't give a shit. If you don't, figure out why, because you probably need to. Number 3, why to give a shit, like all the financial, mental health, holistic, spiritual benefits of actually caring about what you do. Number 4 is how to give a shit with the Give a Shit Kit. It's a series of tools that are designed really honestly to make us better conversationalists, make us more curious about the people we're dealing with, more curious about our customers, our employees. That leads to better leadership. And then the last section is people who do give a shit. So it's right now about 25 stories, big or small, examples of people who have in the world shown what it means to give a shit and really push it forward.
Well, you certainly live out your premise because I'll tell you this, folks. Walked in, sat down. Normally when I'm entertaining somebody, I'm going to ask them their story. And first thing you did was you said, tell me your story.
Yeah.
And, and you said it in a way where it didn't feel like it was a power play.
No.
Right? Because people will do that. Like,
really?
Well, think about it this way. The person who asked the question, the person who's doing the speaking is in less control.
Got it. The
right?
the question is guiding.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, people who understand that art could take that and be like, did he just flip the script on me? Like, what just happened? Wait a minute. He's in my home and he's at, but you did it in such a way that I was like, oh, he really wants to know.
Oh yeah.
Like so thank you.
Yeah.
And it tells me that this book isn't, something that you think that you are, or you think you believe, and you think it would be good copy for someone to read. You're living this out.
Yeah.
You've been running a test on this premise on thousands of people a year that you are interacting with and training.
Yeah.
So the research is built into the job, and now you're just kind of reporting on it.
Yeah. I look back at the last 20 years of my career, and it was the test lab for these different ideas. And I remember writing the book about this mission, about the belief and all that, but it got to that 4th chapter. What tools am I going to put on the table? And I kept overthinking it. And it was very, very simple. How to ask great questions, how to truly listen to the answers, how to reciprocate whatever anybody's giving you. It's the simplest of things, but you as a retail seller know it. It's actually taking notes when people give you more than one piece of information. It's paraphrasing back what you've heard so that the person feels seen, heard, validated in what they talked about.
And then having them repeat it back so that they own it.
Yeah. But back to corporate culture, everybody's so obsessed. Everybody's on their own. Everybody's doing their own thing. And it's cool. Do your own thing. If you want any portion of that $8.8 trillion, it's going to have to start with you as the lead. My editor, Emily, shout out to Emily, she said, who's this book for? I was like, everybody. She's like, no. Who's the audience? Who's the book for? And it was a painful thing for me to admit. I love frontline people. I love the staff. I'm not overly overjoyed about having to try to go change a leader's mind. I love changing their minds, but every single time I would work with frontline people, what's the first thing they'd say to me?
Thank you.
Well, past that, they'd be like, these are all great ideas. I love you to death, Frank. But unless my manager makes these changes.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell is it for?
Yeah.
So she helped me realize that the book has got to be focused on leaders. So one of the things we're going to do at the end of the sections is I'm going to write to the capital L leaders. I'm going to write to the lowercase leaders. I'm going to say, if you're a leader and you lead people, here is my philosophy or way to help you through this chapter. And then it's like, if you're a frontline person and you're not that person who make decisions, here's how you can shine so that you cast a shadow in a great way.
I wish that more leaders would look at themselves as the offensive line instead of the quarterback or running back.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Because that's really
awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of like, throw some blocks, man.
Yeah.
Like, don't be the the bottleneck.
Well, what's Don Miller's thing? I think it's Donald Miller from Storybrand. He's like, you're not the hero.
Yeah.
You're the guide.
You're the hero creator.
You're the wizard.
Yeah.
You're Gandalf, buddy. You ain't Aragon or whatever the name is.
You got a huge role in the movie, though, and everyone's going to remember you. But
you could do it. You could go on the journey, but it's Frodo. Frodo's the hero.
Your thing is to make the other people the star.
Yes.
And that you reap all the benefits of it. That's the secret.
Yeah.
Is it like that's really earning your money as a leader?
Yeah.
Is everyone else is making a ton of money and you're getting a shekel from all of them. Right? You're getting the benefits of all of that. And you're also getting the benefit of going, hey, when they started with me, they were here and now they're here.
Yeah.
So that's that fuel tank being filled up.
Yep.
That's really what it's about. So what's the hardest part? And we got to wrap this bad boy up. Oh, I got 2 questions.
Okay.
All right. So first question, what's the hardest part of the writing process? You did allude to the fact that you overcomplicate. I know for a fact that this is the thing that will sabotage me in anything that I write.
Yeah.
Because I am so wordy, so many thoughts happening, have to get it all out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll literally take 5 pages that I wrote and then I'll be like, I'll put it into ChatGPT and I'm like, actually please make this readable, presentable. Like maybe make it like, I don't know, 60% less words, but more powerful.
Right.
And they're like, and then it's like 1 page. So I can only imagine that you have all these ideas that you want to get out. And then you got to go, which ones are really the important ones, right?
You want to guess how I wrote my book?
Oh, you spoke it.
Yeah. I used speech to text through Microsoft Word.
Oh, I'd probably break my laptop.
Turned on the microphone and just started talking. I knew the chapters. I had outlines and layouts, but then
So did you have like notes that you were reading off of, or did you just kind of riff?
I would put whole paragraphs, whole sections together, and then start to arrange them. But there is no way that I would be able to sit in front of a computer and write.
No, I mean that's why I haven't written 3 books yet.
Yeah. So this is you just do a text to speech. Dragon makes a software that works really, really good. You talk, it'll put all of it on paper. And if you know your mission, I had outlines and chapters of sections what I wanted, but that's how I got it out. The hardest part now is my editors and my team from page 2, they see it and they know where it's at. They know the market though. They know how books sell. They know what books need to have. They know what decision makers who are buying books and using books in corporate training, they know what the must-haves are and how it needs to be positioned.
Got it.
2 things I did really bad in the book. Number 1 is I kept being self-effacing. I kept being like, now listen, I almost said this phrase like 9 times in the book. Now listen, this is just my opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
Not an expert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't take my word for it. Here's all these different things. And I had a guy that is on the product team of BMW. He read the first draft of it and he came to me. He was like, if I hear you one more time say, this is just my opinion, I'm going to scream. I want you to say to me, this stuff works.
Yeah.
I'm your guide, right? And then I saw Don Miller.
Proven to work.
That's it. Well, I saw Don Miller at the Welcome Conference for Wilgadera in New York, and he gets up there on stage talking about these things, and his greatest line for me was, your insecurities are serving no one. Right? So stop worrying about that. You need to be confident. The guide stands in their authority. They know what they know. And that was a huge slap in the face. I have imposter syndrome 10 times a day. And he was like, that insecurity is serving no one. It benefits no one right now. And that's what this guy, Nick, who was reading my book, shout out to Nick, he's like, stop saying that. I want you to stand in your authority every time you go in a section, like here's 20 years of my 20 years. This is what I've seen and it works.
Yeah, I guess I fully agree with that, because I think if I'm reading a book to get expert knowledge, I don't want it to be framed in a matter of humility necessarily, right?
Right. That was the thing. The other thing I didn't do enough that my editors are on me right now about is tell my story. I just went into the book.
6 chapters on hip hop dancing.
Yeah. Well, no, like I made some changes. The very first line of the book is, if not for the principles in this book, I probably would have ended up in prison just like my father.
Okay.
So my mother and father divorced when I was very young. My dad ended up in prison. He was not a good person. Pretty much died in prison. And they were like, you have a miraculous story to tell. My mother was a single mom who had her first child at 16, then me at 21, got divorced at 23.
Wow.
She was on HUD, public housing, paying, $160 a month in rent. And then,
worked at a dealership, and she bought the only thing she could afford from the dealership as a car was a service truck for the actual porters, and it was this little Nissan pickup truck. And like the whole journey of everything we've gone through, like, you know, I didn't want to be egotistical. I didn't, but my Emily and the team and Jessica, like, hey, you need to kind of let people know. And I thought it was, okay, tell my story. Here I am, how great it is. They're like, no. The whole premise is the law started giving a shit. Why are you the person that gives so much of a shit? And then it was all tied in. All of a sudden I was like, my dad was a piece of shit, right? And I didn't ever want to be like him. And I didn't want anybody to ever think I was like him. So I actively care so much. Oh my gosh. I play basketball all the time. Yeah. One guy sometime, you know, I tipped the ball out. Guy pulled me aside in the middle of the game. He's like, you don't have to tell him you tipped the ball out. They didn't see that. I was like, get away from me. I am going to do this. I'm going to do the thing because I believe in these things.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's just so in telling my story, it sort of gives the audience, here's the reason why this dude even wrote the book in the first place. Not because he wants a podcast, not because he wants this thing. Yeah. Many people ask me, like, what's the next book? I was like, I don't even know, because this one was the one that was in my soul.
You need a podcast. No, you do.
There you go.
You do. I will tell you this, and I'm not stroking you here, but I have sat here with you for an hour and 33 minutes.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will tell you light a room up.
Oh, thanks, man.
Right? You light up the mic. You light up a room. You're a great storyteller.
So are you.
Thank you. And that might be the next thing for you. Maybe we do several episodes together.
It'd be an honor.
I want to leave with this.
Yeah.
Right. Inspiration. I'm a big. I just absolutely feed on it.
Yeah.
I don't believe in motivation anymore. I believe in discipline.
Okay.
But I believe in being inspired to be disciplined. Yeah. I believe that there's inspiration all around if you just open your eyes and you look for it. I think that it's within us. You just got to dig for it and find it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, if you were going to leave us with a final thought of inspiration, what would it be?
Have gratitude. Gratitude twice every single day and 3 times on Sunday. The job you hate is a job that somebody else would love. The house you live in that you don't think is big enough is a mansion for somebody else and somewhere else. There's a river in India that is the most, I think it's the Ganges, whatever, but it's where all these people bathe, and it is filled with caustic chemicals that are almost a foot thick that cover the entire top layer, and people bathe in this every single day. And then I go home and I have running water in my shower, unlimited amounts of it. So that gratitude takes me back to a place of humility in that way. And so if you can just stop and just have a little bit of gratitude, right, it's all perspective at that point, you know. And I think it's a term that's thrown around a lot, but just stop for a second, man. My hands work, my arms work, you know. Frickin' Vayner, whether it was 100 million to 1, the odds that you were born.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I mean, it's great. What are the odds that we are here right now in this moment doing this?
When looking through that lens of gratitude, you stop complaining, and and all of a sudden you start to get to work and you see everything. You see opportunities around you. Like, oh, I could do that thing for that person. Oh, I could do that. I could pick that piece of trash up. I could do those little things. And it just starts it becomes its own motor in that way.
Gratitude is the first step to manifesting as well.
Love it.
Because if you are sending gratitude out into the world, you're sending the right energy out, and then the things that you want to come true have a stronger likelihood of coming true because you are vibrating at the right frequency, and you're tapping into a higher spirit, and you're moving people in a different way, and everything starts to move in the same direction. You know, we talk about, like, on teams, if everyone's rowing the boat, right? If everyone's pulling on the same rope, well, you don't need to be on a team to do that. Sometimes you need to do that internally. And we have so much conflict that exists within us. And the first step to break that conflict is to offer gratitude that you even have the opportunity to be conflicted. You're lucky that you even can be conflicted.
Right.
Like, I mean, what could be better than that? So I love that gratitude. And I love that when I meet people that kind of think the same way, because sometimes I think that I'm kind of a nut, and like I'm but it turns out that
what Dale say, you're a rebel.
Yeah,
right? You got it on your computer.
He'd also be sitting in here and he'd be like, "You're right, you're right," Because the more I think I'm a nut, and then the more I record with people and I interact with people, and we have these kind of deep conversations we were talking about before you came here. Like, what are we going to talk about? And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Why don't script this? We're going to talk about you. And then where you go, I go. And where I go, you go with. And you come back, and then I'll go find you. And we riff. And that's what it is. But it seems to keep going back to the same thing. And that energy, it lights me up. And I hope it lights up our listeners.
Yeah.
And I want to remind you, sir, you got shit done.
Hey, there you go.
Cheers.
Yeah, brother. Pressure. Now we're bumping.
Now we're
shaking,
bumping.
now
Are we
dog.
bumping? What do we do? Turkey?
I didn't even know what happened.
Cheers.
Love it.
Can your business handle 15% growth? If yes, you have to engage with 2020 Design. They fuse data and creativity to stop the scroll, break through the noise, and grab the attention of your future customers. 2020 Design will create competitive, click-worthy campaigns, design and build custom websites, spark your social media presence, and structure email campaigns that get right to your audience, the decision maker. Let's boost attention and awareness, which allows you to convert more sales. Check them out at 2020design.com. That's the number 20, TWENTY design.com.